Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to this webinar, WoW Trades. Me, myself, Alberto Alvarado, the one in the picture. Here we go. Well, as always, a little about me before starting. As I explained before in other webinars, I believe that this is a step that must not be skipped since you're trusting or trying to get an influence or to learn something from somebody. At least you need to know the basics of his or her background, so you know where this person is coming from. Well, again, my name is Alberto Alvarado. I'm a trader based in Mexico City with more than 11 years of experience. I am Mexican and I broadcast from Mexico City. I started trading in 2005 with my first live account uh, that I completely lost after 1 month of trading, just because of the reason that I started without any preparation, and I lost a live account of more or less $10,000. And after that, I decided that I really wanted to take this seriously, so I started my own self-learning process to learn by my own means. Let's remember that even though that is not that too much time, but 10 years in the digital era is a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of tools that you can have now. So by 2007, I started grasping the first results of my efforts. Just to see again my account evaporate in 2008 due to the financial crisis that we already know. But at that time, I had to take a decision at a very high personal cost whether to continue or leave it. I decided to continue, and well, the most basic thing that I learned from the 2008 crisis that my edge was not complete. So I decided to integrate intuitional and creative elements to it, plus the traditional elements like technical analysis and fundamental analysis. That it ended up working very well for me. So what you will see here is the sum of all these aspects and the sum of all these years of experience that the learning curve, of course, is that you don't start knowing things or trading properly. So this is the conclusion of all that learning curve, hoping that it helps you to develop your own trading approach to the markets. Quickly, for the ones that haven't subscribed, I strongly suggest you to do so to my free YouTube channel. As you can see here, you go to YouTube and you type IIBB's Trading Room channel. This will show up my picture. You click subscribe. Don't worry. You will receive later on, next hours, a copy through your email of this webinar, and then you can calmly check this out and type it and subscribe. There is no rush to do it exactly at this moment. Well, how to start? Today's agenda. Today, as you can read, is Wednesday, January 18, 2017. I've been commenting in other webinars before year end and after year end, my first webinar this year here in binary.com. What I was explaining is that I didn't have a very positive expectation of this year because of Trump uncertainty factor. It's been here since Donald Trump was elected. But the real deal is that just after New Year, actually the market started behaving very strange, very in a very weird in a weird way. Besides that, if that was not good enough, we continue accumulating a lot of doubts and uncertainty about Brexit, because we closed the year with even the idea of maybe a soft Brexit happening, or for some even Brexit not happening at all. But just after New Year, we got into this year with renewed expectations that maybe the way to go was to have a hard Brexit. The influence of Trump in the foreign policy of the United States, even though he hasn't sworn in as a president, he is not the president in functions. He's the president elect, but his very personal style has already caused some problems with China. So all that the markets, if you've been around for long enough, you have already realized that the markets really hate uncertainty. That the markets tend to perform much better under bad conditions if and only if uncertainty is reduced. I mean, you can even find investors in high risk countries buying high risk assets, but they need exactly knowing the kind of risks they're taking. But the problem with Donald Trump is that we really don't have an idea what's next. Some people believe that after being elected, maybe he could moderate a little bit, thing that apparently is not happening. So uh, really, the markets are not sure where this is going to lead us. We're going to analyze in the charts later on in some minutes how this yesterday's speech by Miss May, the Prime Minister of the UK, really made a favor to reduce that overall risk because it gave investors and people moving money a signal where to move their money, even though if it's to the UK, and even though the clear signals that we're going to have a hard Brexit because UK will definitively leave the EU single market zone, and even though it will end up being much more reliable to take a risk on maybe in the UK, the pound, etc., than maybe even the United States because we don't really know what's the next step for Donald Trump. We're going to check the reactions in the chart of the pound, and we're going to quickly check the reactions versus the Mexican peso that so far is the worst performing currency after Donald Trump being elected because of this very particular style of Donald Trump to blame it on Mexico, the problems of the United States. So we're going to check that out. In the bottom line, I can tell you before continuing with the charts is that before yesterday, before this Ms. May speech, and I commented this in other webinars, I switched everything in the approach and the way that I will going to approach the markets this year because I was foreseeing all these scenarios of high uncertainty and focusing on maybe ultra short-term opportunities like maybe hour opportunities, 2-hour time horizons, etc. But with this kind of opportunities come a lot of difficulty. The difficulty increases exponentially when you try to trade very short time frame. So that implies an extra risk, an extra layer of stress, etc. But fortunately, before Donald Trump swearing in as a president, Ms. May, I believe that what happens is that Ms. May realized that Brexit is something that, even though the markets have had already time to digest the fact that maybe we could face a hard Brexit, the evidence, the very best evidence is that after having the confirmation of a hard Brexit, the markets reacted positively on pound. So I believe that she realized that maybe even the markets could deal with a hard Brexit. The problem is that maybe there were no clear signals on the way to go on Brexit, maybe that could have hurt severely the pound after Trump being elected, because then the world actually, I really have no idea what could have happened. I really have no idea. So yesterday was a hugely great choice by Miss May to give clarity to this, because it brought in a lot of certainty to the markets, and the money rewarded that, moving the pound bullishly, regardless it was Brexit, a hard Brexit. There were people that thought that if we had a hard Brexit scenario, maybe the pound could tumble in that exact very moment, like 2,000 pips or whatever, and they were completely wrong. Actually, it happened the complete opposite. So this will open a lot of more traditional trading opportunities for this year in the pound. This will create tons of opportunities in the pound. Bullish, bearish opportunity depending on the context. But apparently, yeah, this could allow us to find a more conservative way to trade it, and not trying to push the trades into very short time frames that actually you're very more exposed to volatility when you trade shorter time frames. Okay, and we're going to check the Mexican peso, how it's behaving after Donald Trump being elected. So follow me, because I will start sharing my screen. Well, let's start with the pound. There are a lot of important aspects that I would like to talk about a pound. Well, you can see here this huge red candle. I don't need to explain it. This is the Brexit candle. This chart is daily chart, and this is weekend after Brexit. As you can see, we had this gap. This gap was never been able to be closed. Not no regardless that the market stabilized at 1.3 area, stabilized here and tried to close the gap, and then it failed definitely, and it continued falling. Here we have a 400 pip drop in less than 5 minutes. I commented here in the webinars that I was the sustainer of the idea that this huge drop should mean the end of the bearish movement on pound. It stabilized after that a lot of days, just to have on Monday this slight gap to the downside, retesting these lows. And by the way, opening the price on Monday below the Bollinger Band. Typically, technically, people mostly believe that all the gaps are closed. Last year, I've seen a lot of gaps that haven't been closed. The best example is this weekend after Brexit gap. It haven't been closed so far. So if all the gaps are closed, well, maybe most of them are, but not necessarily in the next 24 hours after the gap. So I was commenting with other fellow traders that in any case that we should not continue having the mindset of when you have a gap, the no-brainer thing is to trade it, to trade in a way betting that the gap is going to be closed, because we just need to check again the weekend after Brexit gap. If somebody had open bullish trades blindly betting for this gap to be closed, well, after 6-7 months, that gap hasn't been closed. So that introduced an extra layer of complexity to pound analysis. But I want you to check this out. This very big candle happened yesterday after Ms. May's speech. I'm going to show you the 4-hour chart to give a clearer context in this. This movement to the upside is very eye-catching. It pushed the price from retesting 1.2 to the 1.24. So when we measure this movement in one day, we have 400 pip movement to the upside. It is strange for a lot of people that after having a confirmation of hard Brexit scenario, why then the pound moved bullishly? Well, it's because actually the price of 1.2 was trying to forecast a hard Brexit scenario. So now that we have the confirmation, there is no further need to have the price at those levels. But we really needed we had the need of the prime minister confirming this, because there were some rumors last year that even maybe Miss May could be pushed to even quit her position in the UK as UK prime minister. So now that now everything is confirmed. Yes, we have Brexit. It's going to be hard Brexit, and the market rewarded that. The market rewards certainty and punishes uncertainty. So this was a huge, big, timed decision by Miss May. And here are the consequences. The real consequences are not theoretical. You can see here the real results. Okay, now after that, retesting the 124, it's retracing to the 1.3. This is mostly logical. At some point, you can have take profit and etc. I'm not saying that this couldn't continue going down, but I think it's due to the context. I really believe that this message will be considered for people that were wondering what we're going to do with investments, with money, where we're going to put it, because in the United States it's not as safe as we expected, because actually Donald Trump is starting to show that he's really committed into accomplishing a lot of promises that he delivered to the voters, even though those promises were really destabilizing. Okay, like, for example, this thing on protectionism has already cost Mexico a lot of investments, because Donald Trump has threatened several automotive companies like Ford. Like, for example, if Ford wanted to build here in Mexico a plant to build, I believe, a car, and then to sell it in the United States. So Donald Trump threatened that if Ford wanted to sell that car in the United States, they should and must build that plant in the United States instead. So this company surrendered to the Donald Trump threat that, by the way, was made by Twitter, on complete unorthodox and uninstitutional behavior. And Donald Trump is not the president in functions. He's the president-elect, but not in functions. So this really had a bad effect on the markets, because now the problem is that the markets believe that before taking an economic decision, they need to try to guess, and this is a word, to guess what's in Donald Trump's mind. Giving certainty and clarity on the UK future, at least that it will happen, a Brexit will happen, give some light and something to focus on. So a lot of maybe money that would have run into gold, or I don't know, maybe suddenly it became attractive to, instead of selling pound, maybe buying pound, maybe investing in the UK, because actually one of the great differences of the UK democracy is that they are very institutional. UK institutions are well known for their stability. So now again, they showed that they are managing their way through to this Brexit crisis, and it's way more manageable than the uncertainty that Donald Trump is causing, because actually Donald Trump is now generating problems against China. So this is getting very out of hand. And having a country with AAA ratings, with solid institutions, democratic institutions, it's a good news for the markets. So I anticipate that a lot of trading opportunities will arise. That's good for us, because I really thought this was going to be a very dry year in trading opportunities, at least in opportunities that would worth to run the risks. Okay, this is a 4-hour chart. Let's just quickly check the 1-hour one. I guess I don't need to explain exactly where the Miss May started talking, right? Because it's very clear. Look at the volumes here. It was here when she started talking clearly on Brexit. Now the market just broke to the upside 400 pips from the 120 to the 124, retracing a little bit now, making some base at 1.23. And I believe that it's very notorious, this fact. This breakout that happened on very high volumes in the 1 hour chart that happened more or less at the 121.50. It's very healthy. So just for reference in the future, I'm going to start focusing on pound. I believe that 70% of the times from now on to maybe find some trading potential insights for next week. But here are some clue levels that you need to start following, to start reading the charts from now on cable that are very important. This level, 121.50, not because at that time the first effects of Miss May's speech really started having influence in the markets. The volume that is here is the highest volume, I believe, in the latest since December 28th. We had a breakout to the upside. The MACD was, at that moment, was in bullish territory. Same thing RSI, same thing stochastic. So this level, 120, 121.50, should be good enough to draw a strong and clear signal and line in the sand on what could divide potential bullish and bearish risks. This line, 121.50. Maybe try to open trades today is way too early because this just happened yesterday, and we don't have to underestimate the effects of having Donald Trump swearing in as president in functions of the United States on Friday. But this is the clue price now, 121.50. As you can see, and I'm going to draw a line here. This is not coincidence, okay? Look where this line 121.50, what kind of levels it retests. These ones, and look at this, all this zone. This is a high volatility zone, but I want you to check this out. This is the highest volume since December 28th, and the second highest of volume traded was here. This is January 11th. That it made this drop and then suddenly jumped up. So it's not coincidence that now that this line that we're drawing on the sand to divide potential bullish and bearish risks, the highest volume was here and the second highest volume is exactly here, making support here and support zones here. So the markets are telling us that yes, this is a clear line in the sand. It's way more complex than only saying that above this line it's a bullish and below this line is bearish. No, it's not that simple, but it's a very clear signal that the market just sent us. And if you ask me, when you look at, you feel the markets due to this Trump uncertainty, they just simply feel weird. If you ask me, the difference that it will make that at least in the pound we have this clear signal that maybe we don't have it anymore in any other asset, in euro, dollar, in emerging currencies, not in gold, not in Japanese yen. This is going to be a magnet to move to capital and money flows. So that is why we're going to stick to the pound until we feel comfortable with Trump administration. We really don't know if after swearing as president, maybe he will start behaving institutional. And well, in the meanwhile, the pound is the currency to watch. Okay. I wanted to show you, and this is going to be quick because I know that maybe trading the Mexican peso is not the most popular currency. But the thing is that maybe after Donald Trump being elected, is the only currency that is having a clear direction. And I mean bearish, super bearish on Mexican peso. Besides that, we have a lot of mixed sentiments in euro dollar. Before Ms. May's speech, the pound was equally doubtful, the direction, etc., because we're really in uncertain territory. But the one raw fact is that if Donald Trump really delivers the promises that he made to the electors, to the voters, the Mexican economy will be hit badly. And it has been hit badly since the markets knew that Donald Trump was elected. This huge movement to the upside. This is the daily chart, the Mexican peso. This movement to the upside is precisely showing how the markets read on that surprise Donald Trump election. But this movement to the downside on Mexican peso, bullish on American dollar, has been active like what for, I'm going to switch to the monthly chart just to give you an idea for how long this bearish Mexican peso trend's been active. Look at this. Since August 28, look at this movement. This is bullish American dollar, bearish Mexican peso. We have this movements favoring the Mexican peso, but after that, overall, after here, in May 2014, look what the dollar has been doing, up, 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 but look at the steepness of this, okay? So this movement is not only due to Donald Trump's threat, is reflecting a real weakness in the potential future of the Mexican economy since 2014. Donald Trump reality is only amplifying that. That is why the real clear, the I don't want to say the safest ways to trade Donald Trump uncertainty, but it's clear the direction of the Mexican peso as it is not as clear in any other currency. So let's just stick to in when we face a lot of uncertainties, we need to find the less uncertain assets. And in this case, the Mexican peso, as you can see, it's been bearish, super bearish since 2014. And Donald Trump, for sure, is not going to help that to change. Okay, let's change quickly to the 4-hour chart. Again, this is Donald Trump being elected. It moved widely to the upside. It caused the MACD decidedly moved to the bullish territory and follow me. From this moment on, this is the 4-hour chart. The MACD, every time it touched the zero line, jumped to the upside. Jumped to the upside. Here, it just made a very, very slight pause here. But as you can see, the price action was respecting this support. I'm going to signal it. Even though here the MACD was in below the zero line, all this, the bottom of this movement was respecting this bottom. What is the relevance of this? This bottom, look what it makes here. It's the first time after widely moving to the bullish territory, the MACD is the first time it touched zero. This is what I call synchronization, you know. In the markets, pretty much everything is correlated. You will never have a clear idea of the direction because that's a skill that you need to develop that has a lot to do with subjectiveness. But that doesn't mean that the markets don't have a structure. They do have a structure, and it's our due diligence to follow it, to really try to, because all this information gives us very important clues. Okay, so again, here, one of the points of this support that I am mentioning at this moment was the first time the MACD jumping on the zero line. Later on, it made a lower low here, but not being able to make a clear lower low here. So it's what I call a pseudo diversion, a pseudo divergency. Okay, and look what happened afterwards. The MACD never quit being above the zero line again until now. Now it's testing the zero line again, but look at this. This chart pattern, this descending triangle. Look how beautiful this triangle looks, and it's in the 4-hour chart. This is not very transitory, insignificant time frame. And look how decisively this movement to the upside is starting to look. We're close to the Bollinger Band that has been shrinking, yes. This could maybe represent the first technical take profit target. But look at the whole structure. And overall, is the only asset that it's really reflecting the new fundamental reality for Mexico. Quickly, the 1-hour chart, just to have a more detailed version. Look how steep this movement looks. Jumping on the upper Bollinger Band once again, once again, once again. Look how now the MACD, these mid Bollinger Bands are starting to have a 45 degrees steepness to the upside. Just after breaking this. Now we're retesting this level of the triangle, and in the 4-hour chart, I just showed you that here is very close to the Bollinger Band, to the upper Bollinger Band. So this is technically the first take profit target. But fundamentally and technically, this is pointing a bearish direction on peso and bullish on American dollar. And that won't change at least in the next 2 months. So we're going to track potential trading opportunities after Donald Trump being elected. Now, I want just to wait that little bit. It worth it the wait, yes. Now we have another asset to look, that is the pound. And the Mexican peso is a no-brainer. The advantage of trading maybe bearishly on Mexican peso is that everybody's watching this and everybody knows where this is going. So yeah, this will open a lot of liquidity here. If you're afraid maybe Mexican peso is trading something that will very exotic, well, it's not the case, and overall it's not the case now. It's obvious for everybody that there are tons of opportunities to when you analyze the Mexican peso chart patterns. Okay. So the bottom line, I have always bet for not helping blindly people giving away like some other sites, etc., free trading signals, whatever. No, I have always thought that the only way to go to really help people in the markets, in the forex markets, it's to give them the tools to learn by themselves and not ending being dependent on anybody, not even me. This year that started 18 days ago, plus that we're going to have Donald Trump as president in 2 days, actually will have an uncertain effect in the markets, as we are already seeing that. So I really hope that the information that I will deliver here will help you, firstly, develop your very own personal way to understand the markets, and secondly, that altogether we could be able maybe to filter the noise that will be natural in this new stage after Donald Trump being president of the United States. Detecting these two assets, overall this pound after yesterday, it's a very good opportunity. So altogether, we will make our effort. You need to take this seriously, to do your homework, to do your research, to be aware of fundamentals, to be aware of what happened at the price action after fundamental releases, etc. And with information that I will start delivering here, you can build up your own trading agenda and your own trading strategy. And I hope really for all of us that altogether the work done by all together will help us reach our goals. That mine, in the most important, is to help you develop your very personal way to be independent trading the markets. I would like to thank everybody for showing up. I would like to call you again to subscribe to my free YouTube channel. Remember that any important information outside the binary.com webinar schedule will be delivered there. An important thing after Donald Trump being elected, volatility, potential interesting price action on pound, on Mexican peso that maybe happened all of a sudden that would worth to upload a video and explain it. You can expect it there. So go there, subscribe, it's for free, and it could be helpful. And trust me, this year, this channel will be, we don't have any idea how helpful this will be because the opportunities will switch and move fast. So we need the more we are informed, the better we will perform. Okay, so again, thanks everybody for showing up. Remember that I expect you next week at the same time, same place. You will receive later on the recording of this webinar. Feel free to review it in YouTube the times that you want, and to schedule to having your agenda next week, same time, same place, to assist this, and maybe with some luck, we will have much more concrete potential trading scenarios. This was Alberto Alvarado. Hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you, everybody. Trade safe, be safe, and bye-bye.